Hello, welcome to this Widget Builder tutorial. Today we'll be making a simple widget so that we can show some new functionalities we added to the Widget Builder. Alright, so let's just make a widget called test widget. Create an icon. Alright, let's give it some HTML. Just deal with the class test widget. Okay, add some text. Right, let's give it some basic CSS. Height 200 pixels, width 200 pixels, background color, let's say blue. Give it the color white. All right. Now let's introduce an attribute or two attributes. So let's say we want to customize the position of our text. We want to align it vertically and horizontally. All right, so what we would do is add, for example, a drop-down menu, and we'll say horizontal align. Okay. Now, the first thing that we added is that the text and value don't have to be the same anymore. So we can say left, but our value would be flex start. Okay, so center is center and right is flex end. Okay, and you see that we need to fill in the default values. So every attribute that we make needs to have a default value. Okay, so add that. Let's make another one. We'll call it vertical align. Okay, so top, that would be flex start, center. In the second, I'll show you how to use this. Okay. So, in order to see any difference, we need to incorporate these attributes into our CSS. When we click our CSS, you see that these two attributes appeared here. Okay, and in order to use this, we have to say display flex. Okay, and if you're not familiar with flex, aligning items horizontally is done like this. We justify content, let's say horizontal align, and vertical is align items. Okay, let's see if that works. Perfect, it's centered. Okay, now let's just test it a little bit. Let's say top left, excellent. Bottom right. All right, it works. Okay. Next thing I would like to show you is concerning JavaScript. So there are a couple of important notes about writing JavaScript for our widgets. First one, you'll notice that we have one more attribute than we added. It's this widget ID. So this is an attribute that we have by default. This will represent the ID of the widget inside the editor, because we can add more than one widget. We can add as many of our test widgets as we like, and we need a simple way to differentiate one from another. So first thing that it's recommended to do is create a variable that would represent your widget. So let's say var test widget is document get element by ID, and we add our widget ID here. Okay, now everything we want to select now inside this widget ID when using document get elements by tag or get elements by class name and stuff like that, uh, we will write it like this. So var inner test div. I know this is not the best naming convention, but just for this purpose it'll do just fine. Okay, now instead of saying document get element by class name, we will say test widget get elements by class name. Our class, our only widget here is, our only element here is this div called test widget. Okay, and because this returns an array, we'll just say 0. So this is the first and the only element in the array. Okay, so this is important because if we add more of the same widget to our page, it could cause problems if we used it like this. It could select all all of the elements with this class, and now we are selecting the elements in this class only for our current widget. Okay, now let's add some basic functionality. We'll just change the color of our div on click. Okay, so we will do it like this. Add event listener. Click. And now we want to just change the color, right? Style, background color, for example, green. Okay, let's see if it works. Okay. Let's save our widget for now and see how it looks like in the editor. Okay, now here is our widget, and if we go to projects, I created a project for this, and we go here, we see that we don't see our widget here. And why is that? Well, because we added a widget library where we can select the widgets that we want to see in our editor, because potentially there could be hundreds, dozens of widgets here, and maybe we don't need all of those. So in this library we can just select the widgets that we want to see. Okay, and the difference between this list here, which only has one widget, and here we have 5, is because only this one is ours. We made it. It's a user widget. Uh, other 4 are public widgets, and everyone has access to them. Well, everyone can see them and use them in the editor, but not everyone can edit them. See, we don't have the option to edit those widgets. Now we want, for example, to see just our widget. Okay, so when we click select, we can say save for me only, so only we can see them, or save for me and share with my company, so that everyone who is in the same company as you will also have access to this widget. So let's just use this for now. Select only for me. Okay, now let's go back to the project. All right, now we can see our widget. Okay, add the widget here. Perfect. Okay, now let's save this page. Okay, when we exit. Now, the other thing that we added is that when we change the widget, the changes will be reflected on the pages that are already published and the pages that are already saved. So, for example, let's say we no longer want to have just some text here. We want it to be customizable. All right. So let's add another attribute and call it widget text. We'll give it the default value of some default text, for example. Okay. And here we'll replace this hard-coded text with our dynamic text here. Okay, let's see how it looks. Some default text. Okay, save the widget, go back. All right, now we go. Remember, we already saved this page. Okay, and you see the text changed. Even though this page is saved, uh, we always get the newest version of our widget. Okay, and one thing, uh, last thing I would like to point out is that we should wrap our JavaScript. We should wrap this in an IFI. IFI is an immediately invoked function, and I'll explain it in just a second. Okay. For now, we recommend wrapping this in a function. In the future, we'll make this by default. So why do we do this? Because when we add a widget to our page, we add a script tag. Sorry, we add a script tag with our JavaScript, and if we didn't have this function, and we added, for example, two of our widget, this would be global variables. So the script that we add second would override the first one, and the variable in the first script would be overridden by the variable in the second script. So we wrap all the JavaScript in this function. So these variables are no longer global. They are now local variables. And they cannot interfere with each other. Okay? Now let's go back. Okay. Let's add another one. And you see it works fine. They don't collide with each other. They don't clash. Every widget is its own entity. So we can just change this alignment here. Okay. Yeah, the widget isn't perfect, but it serves the purpose to show you that every one of them is an individual entity. Okay. And of course, when we save, exit, if we change anything about this widget, for example, maybe we want it to turn red when we click it. So this page is already saved. I click it, it turns red. All right. Thank you. That's it for this tutorial. Uh, and I'll see you next time. Bye.